Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here. We are live. Thank you guys for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And of course, once again, well, I shouldn't say once again like I do this all the time, but this is like the second time in I think a 7-day period. I forgot to go live on X and Rumble. So give me just a second while I do this, and we should be ready now. Thank you guys for joining me today. Let's get the show started. Let's get the stream started. So we have to talk about what's going on with former Congresswoman, former Representative Cori Bush, right? We got to talk about what's happening with her because the indictments are coming down on folks. 20-year jail sentences are pending and looming over the heads of those that are, destroying Tesla dealerships, engaging in, political violence. But as it pertains to Cori Bush, the former squad member, it looks like her husband is in a little bit of trouble. He's in a little bit of trouble because he has been indicted on wire fraud and PPP loan fraud and everything surrounding that. So we're going to get into that right now. But the first thing that I want to do, or we're going to get into that soon, but the first thing that I want to do, right? The first thing that I want to do is I want to pull this video up from Cori Bush to kind of set the tone, right? To set the tone of the stream, right? And what we want to do and what we want to accomplish today. When I saw this video that we're going to watch right now, I legitimately felt bad for Cori Bush. I felt bad for her and had a lot of secondhand embarrassment. And you're going to see why right now. So let's get into this video here. Oh, boy. This is going to be rough to watch and hilarious at the same time.
I'm going to make sure I have security because I know I have had attempts on my life and I have too much work to do. There are too many people that need help right now for me to allow that. So if I end up spending $200,000, if I spend 10 more dollars on it, you know what? I get to be here to do the work. So suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety.
Wealthy. Now, there's an article and a story we're going to get into before we get into her husband's PPP loan fraud that's related to what she was saying about paying $200,000, $300,000 on private security. And we're going to get into that after this video. But here is where the embarrassment is coming in. And mind you, I want to make sure to, set the stage for you to understand that if you look in the back, what you see here is Cori Bush 2018. So this was when she first hit the scene and was looking for the people of St. Louis in her district to vote for her, right? So I'm just setting that up for you. I'm running for Congress for the people in my district in St. Louis. I want you to vote for me. And here's what I have to offer you. Here we go.
Should pay their fair share.
Yes, wealthy should pay their fair share.
What is a fair?
Let me rewind it back just a little bit.
Police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety.
The wealthy should pay their fair share.
Yes, wealthy should pay their fair share.
What is a fair share? What percentage?
So you're saying that you're saying that they're paying their fair share is what you're saying?
No, I'm asking what percentage is a fair share?
Their fair share, the same. If a third of my money is going to taxes, then I think a third of their money should be going to taxes.
It does.
Well, it does.
I'm trying to understand because you realize the effective tax rate on the poor is less than it is on the rich, right?
Okay, so first of all, I'm not the poor. I'm very close to that line, but I'm not the poor.
Okay, so the effective tax rate on the middle class is less than it is on the rich, correct? What fair share would you like to change the tax rate to on the wealthiest what percentage of Americans so it's a fair share?
So let's say the wealthy 1% could pay, let's say if they paid, let's just give them 45%.
Oh my God. Oh my God. She was sitting there going, I mean, and They voted for this. Even after this interview, the people in her district still voted her in to be their congresswoman in 2018, right? Which is crazy. Now, obviously, as you all know, she's currently former representative, right? Because she did get voted out in the next go around. Right? She didn't last long, and we can see why. But what I really want to highlight with this video here, you know, outside of the fact that she doesn't know what she's talking about, this isn't just Cori Bush. What you're looking at right now is also AOC. What you're looking at right now when you saw that is also Jasmine Crockett and all of the other, you know, so-called progressives of the Democrat Party that are trying to essentially take over the party right now from the establishment Democrats, as people like to say. This is why you don't see AOC and Jasmine Crockett and the like, or Ilhan Omar for that matter, or Rashida Tlaib, all these so-called squad members. You never see them go on Fox News, Newsmax, Breitbart, any of these, New York Post. They don't talk to any of these so-called, you know, how people like to say right-wing news media outlets, right? Because if they did, they would respond the same exact way. I've watched numerous Jasmine Crockett and AOC interviews where they're softball interviews and speaking with the people that support them, their DNC outlets, and they don't answer the questions on the policies they support any better than what Cori Bush did just now. The only difference is the reason that they don't look as bad is because Cori Bush was actually given pushback and told to be specific on what it is that she's standing on as it pertains to policy. And she couldn't do it. She couldn't do it. But trust me when I tell you, if you put AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and all those other wild progressives, if you put them over there on Fox News and just have them answer basic questions about their policies, well, they'll get light pushback. They'll crumble just like this. Believe me when I tell you, they will crumble just like this. So now what I want to do is get into this story right here. Because before we get into her husband's PPP loan fraud and wire fraud and everything like that, like I said, in the first portion of this video here, she was talking about not caring how much money it would cost to pay for her private security. Well, what is she talking about? Because in this video, when I played it, she said, get over it, right? Well, what exactly was she talking about? She was talking about this right here. Cori Bush explains how relentless threats forced her to use campaign funds to pay her husband over $120,000 after previous security team was sleeping on the job. Now, this was back in February of 2024. She came under investigation by the federal government. She came under investigation for this. Let's get into this, right? So she's, you know, has a history of funny money. There's a history of funny money as it pertains to Cori Bush and her husband. Let's get this going. And please hit that like button. Democrat Representative Cori Bush claimed Wednesday that constant threats to her safety and a security team that was sleeping on the job forced her to hire her husband for protection. The progressive squad member, who was under federal investigation for misusing campaign funds, has spent over $750,000 on security services out of her campaign account since getting elected in 2020. This includes over $120,000 to her husband, Cortney Merritts, according to her most recent campaign filings, who she married in 2023. Bush, meanwhile, has repeatedly denied wrongdoing and said Merritts has the extensive experience needed to work on her security detail. And I quote, he was an air assault soldier in the 101st Airborne. He had already worked for other companies working security, even as a supervisor. So this was in his lane. the Missourian told MSNBC host Joy Reid Wednesday night. So once again, she was discussing this on a friendly territory on MSNBC, right? There were a lot of issues with us retaining just good staff, she continued. It worked out for a while, but then we started having call-offs, people just not showing up to work, people sleeping on the job. So it was very hard for me to have security when it was unreliable. The article continues to read, then when he had someone who was kind of leading the group, leading the team, who could no longer do it, one day he called and said, I won't be back for 3 months, Bush told MSDNC. And so what was happening was Cortney would fill in. He would volunteer. Since running for public office, Bush has faced relentless threats to her safety, she added. Now get this here. Well, first off, before I move on, because this is something very important that I want to highlight here concerning this funny money and the Office of Congressional Ethics. But what I want to say is this before we carry on. As it pertains to her hiring her husband and apparently having all of this so-called experience, in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, what I believe is that this is all funny money. This is all fraudulent because your husband did not have a security detail business. That's not what he did for a living. If you continue reading on this article, he was a professional mover, for lack of better words. I'm not sure what the professional term is, but he was a professional mover. Like, he moved furniture in and out of people's homes for a living. That's what he did, right? He didn't have a professional security detail business. So if now all of a sudden you just decide to say, well, I'm going to pay my husband to be my security and I'm going to give him over $120,000 since he has a little bit of experience. I mean, he was in the Air Force and whatnot. That doesn't matter. That's funny money. He wasn't running a legitimate business. This is fraudulent activity, in my opinion. But the Office of Congressional Ethics seemed to not feel that way. Now, what is the Office of Congressional Ethics? We're going to get into that right now. The Office of Congressional Ethics, a nonpartisan entity that investigates and recommends matters to the Ethics Committee, did not find that Bush committed any wrongdoing in hiring Merritts and voted unanimously to dismiss the case. Now, let's get into who these people are. And I'm going to start off by saying this. Paging Elon Musk. Please, paging Elon Musk. Why am I saying that? Office of Congressional Ethics. The Office of Congressional Ethics, established by the U.S. House of Representatives in March of 2008, is a nonpartisan independent entity charged with reviewing allegations of misconduct against members of the House of Representatives and their staff, and when appropriate, referring matters to the United States House Committee on Ethics. Now, what is the history of the OCE? The OCE was created by a House Resolution 895 of the 110th United States Congress in March of 2008, in the wake of across-the-board Democratic victories in the 2006 election. Very interesting. It was created under the leadership of then Speaker of the House, Representative Nancy Pelosi, as part of her effort to clean up what she called the culture of corruption in official Washington, which had garnered so much attention in the preceding congressional session. According to OCE Communications Director John Steinman, in a statement in 2010, keeping the public informed is a paramount responsibility for the OCE, and providing information to the public, improving transparency, is a central element of the OCE's mission. So this was created by the DNC. It was created by a DNC majority in Congress, with Nancy Pelosi leading the charge as Speaker of the House. Very interesting. Once again, Paging Elon Musk. Paging Elon Musk. I think Doge needs to hit the OCE next and find out if there's any waste, fraud, and abuse going on over there. And we need Trump to determine whether or not the OCE should still exist. I think we need to page Trump as well for him to get his pen and sign the new executive order dismantling the OCE, right? So I'm not surprised now, and it shouldn't be surprising to any of us, that the OCE unanimously voted to dismiss Cori Bush's case. However, the Federal Election Commission and the Department of Justice investigations into Bush remain ongoing. Merritt's most recent work experience, according to his LinkedIn account, is in the moving industry and owns St. Louis-based vetted movers. So once again, like I stated earlier, this guy, he's in the moving industry, but apparently he was qualified to take care of her security detail, right? To where she paid $120,000 out of her campaign funds. And please understand, money going into his pocket is money going into her pocket. And look at this little group of fraudulent individuals, I'll say right here. I'll just leave it at that. Look at these fraudulent individuals that we're looking at. Yeah. Anyways, let's keep going. Look at this here. Merritts told Fox News in October of 2023 that he was not working for Bush's campaign before backtracking and admitted that he was indeed working for her, right? So he got caught up in a lie when speaking to Fox News. And remember what I stated earlier, whenever these folks face any type of pushback, all of a sudden they collapse like that. Here's how that scenario went down on Fox News when her husband got caught up in the lie. So, I don't have a role in the campaign, man, Merritts initially replied when asked about his role on Bush's team. He then backtracked when pressed, saying, I'm still in the campaign. I still do security with the campaign. Bush was first elected to Congress in 2020 and currently running for re-election in 2024. Well, she lost that. She lost that, as we all know. But as you can see, man, just funny money going all around, with Cori Bush and, and the DNC overall. So now we come to her husband's situation, right? Former squad member, Representative Cori Bush's husband, indicted for allegedly pocketing $20,000 in PPP loans for personal benefit and enjoyment. So let's get into this article right now. The husband of former Representative Cori Bush allegedly bilked taxpayers out of more than $20,000 in a C-19 loan scheme and used the money for his personal benefits and enjoyment. Having a good time, huh? According to the DC U.S. Attorney's Office, Cortney Merritts, 46, was charged in a federal indictment Thursday with 2 counts of wire fraud related to allegedly fraudulently applications. Excuse me. I'm going to start that paragraph again. Cortney Merritts, 46, was charged in a federal indictment Thursday with 2 counts of wire fraud related to allegedly fraudulent applications he filed with the Small Business Administration in 2020 and in 2021. That allowed him to collect and never repay government funds from the Pandemic Era Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program and the Paycheck Protection Program, as we all know as PPP. Merritts received an $8,500 EIDL loan from the SBA for his moving business in July of 2020 after certifying that his company, Vetted Couriers, had 6 employees and generated $32,000 in gross revenue the previous year, according to the indictment. The day after receiving the EIDL loan, Merritts filed another application with SBA through the same program for a different business, which he identified only as Cortney Merritts, and claimed it employed 10 people and generated $53,000 in revenue. The ex-congresswoman's husband also requested an EIDL advance of up to $10,000 based on the number of employees Cortney Merritts employed. SBA rejected Merritt's application after determining that the documents were nearly identical to the prior one he submitted. The DC U.S. Attorney's Office, headed by Ed Martin, claims Merritts lied about the number of employees he had and his revenues in the rejected application. Nearly a year later, in April of 2021, Merritts once again sought taxpayer money in the form of a PPP loan for Cortney Merritts. This time, he claimed the business was created in 2020 and generated $128,000 in gross income that year. But those claims were also fraudulent, according to the indictment. Oh, it's time to go to jail, brother. It's time to go to jail. However, the St. Louis man's application was not rejected, and he received a $20,000 PPP loan. Merritts used the proceeds for his personal benefit and enjoyment, according to federal prosecutors. I'm going to read that again. Merritts used the proceeds for his personal benefit and enjoyment, according to federal prosecutors. The indictment didn't include details of what exactly he blew the cash on. Based on Merritts' alleged fraudulent representations, the SBA forgave the PPP loan in the amount of $20,832 and the $254.03 in interest, the DC Attorney's Office added. An attorney for Merritts told the Washington Post that his client intends to plead not guilty, as most criminals do. We look forward to litigating this case in the courtroom, Justice Gelfand told the outlet. Bush, the former far-left squad congresswoman who lost her Missouri 1st District seat in the 2024 election, is not accused of any wrongdoing in the indictment. In 2023, Bush was slapped with a federal election commission and congressional ethics complaint over money her campaign paid Merritts to provide security, even though he didn't have the required licenses. Once again, that's not what he was doing for a living. The guy was a professional mover without any type of security license, no, none of that. But she paid him well over $120K. And I'm not going to read the rest of this here because it went over what we already talked about in the last article. But as far as that investigation that went into her, the status of the investigation is unknown. And the ex-congresswoman has not been charged. I think it's time for that whole little scenario to be revisited also. I think that Pam Bondi needs to revisit that $120,000 that Cori Bush paid her husband to be security, to take care of her security detail when he didn't have the necessary paperwork, or any type of license to be doing such work. But I mean, as we round things out in closing, my man was definitely living good, wasn't he? Look at him here on the beach, just living life, man. That PPP money hit different. When you get that federal money and you don't have to pay it back because you're a fraudulent individual, participating in scamming the federal government out of taxpayer dollars, you could live like this. You could live like this, at least for a moment and for a time, until Pam Bondi catches up to you. And then it's time to have a seat for a little while. It's definitely time for you to have a seat for a little while. And with all that being said, that's going to do it for today's stream, man. That's going to do it for today's stream. Like I always say, and I'm going to keep saying it. I've said it 1,000,001 times before. Some of you probably tired of me saying it, and I'm going to say it again. People love to tell me, TD, oh, you're always, got the cape on for Trump and everything like that. And I mean, well, I'm a Trump supporter, right? I voted for him. So yeah, I'm going to, defend him where the lies are. But they try to tell me, man, this stuff is two sides of the same coin. And I hear you. And like I always say, I will never argue you on that point. If you want to talk to two sides of the same coin argument, got it. But when it comes to all this stolen taxpayer dollars and people being upset about Doge cuts and all the waste, fraud, and abuse that's happening, you got to answer the question, why is it only Democrats that seemingly are pissed off about that? And then when we're going through all these little stories like this, why does it seem like it's mainly them that get caught up in all of this type of fraudulent behavior? Just like Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters has paid her daughter well over $1 million in campaign funds, for services rendered. Right? What's the other guy's name? I haven't spoken on him in so long. Out of South Carolina, Jim Clyburn. Jim Clyburn has paid his daughter a whole lot of money. Jim Clyburn has paid his daughter and multiple family members hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, out of his campaign money for, I guess, services rendered, So it's always them that gets caught up. It's always them. Always. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's stream. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms. Don't forget to follow me on Telegram. I always beg you guys to do that. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. You will not miss a notification. You don't have to worry about YouTube unsubscribing you out of nowhere if you're following me on Telegram at TD Media Group. And shout out to my man Saul, who came through as he always does and said she feels comfortable about defunding the police because she has money for security. The rest of us citizens can't. Exactly, Saul. You said it the best right there. Of course she wants to defund the police. I'll defund the police, but then I'll use the campaign money that my constituents have been giving me to fund my own personal police, which essentially is her husband right here. And you see him here living the good life on the beach after being paid off by his own wife. And then on top of that, taking thousands of dollars in PPP loans. Shout out to College of Natural Health Science, BDA, who said, you better thank a union member for fraud and abuse. I got you at the very end. College of Natural Health and Science, DVA. You all know whenever College of Natural Health and Science comes through, you guys know what I'm going to play to end the stream out. You better thank a union member for fraud and abuse. Roger Wood said, how do you get fired from doing security? They said they caught what? They said they caught B on camera moving by. Isn't that from Friday? Is that from Friday? Somebody please help me out. The quote is a little, I guess you were texting or whatever, doing it really fast. It says they said they caught me be on camera moving boxes, but that's from Friday, isn't it? I forgot what the actual quote is. Like how you get fired on your day off? You said they caught me moving boxes. I believe that was from Friday, if I'm not mistaken. If I remember correctly, that was from Friday. But anyways, thank you, Wedge. I see everybody. Yeah, everybody's saying yes. Yeah, that was from the movie Friday. How you get fired on your day off? They said they caught me moving boxes. Anyways, man, that does it for the stream, right? That does it for today's stream. So once again, please hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. And I'm going to do this one time for College of Natural Health and Science, BDS. Where is it at? I need to clean up my little StreamYards thing back here that has all these little sound bites and stuff that I don't use. I got to do this one time for College of Natural Health and Science.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Oh, man. Cori Bush said, you better thank a union member for fraud and abuse. I was going to head out of here, but it looks like I have some more support that came through, and I definitely appreciate it. Shout out to my man on TriGenius, who's been holding it down as a channel member for 37 months. I appreciate you, bro. 37 months of service. He said, is there a Terry Telegram? I really need to make one, honestly, and I've been meaning to do that. I've been meaning to do that for a while. Your notifications never hit for those. Keep telling the Dems to be logic, be educated themselves. For sure. And I'm gonna make one. I'm gonna make a Telegram for Terry time also. And if you don't know what Terry time is, don't worry about it. If you found yourself on this channel, you are where you're supposed to be. And if you have somehow found yourself on the other channel, but you don't know about this channel that I'm on right now, then you are also where you're supposed to be. And if you're on both channels, like Untried Genius, then you are where you're supposed to be. Okay. Fanteezy said, don't forget Biden's linebacker, Simone Sanders. She's an independent now. I saw that. I heard that she was really mad on her MSNBC show. And apparently she's going to go independent now, but we'll see. We all know that doesn't really mean anything. You know, listen, when most times than not, especially when you're talking about black folks, let's be honest. When black folks say they're independent, 9 out of 10 times they're Democrat. They just say independent to not seem like a, I don't know, a political stereotype, you know, but they're Democrat. And Simone Sanders, trust me, she's still a Democrat. But anyways, let's head on out of here, man. I gotta go. Thank you guys for tuning in today. This was a great stream, very informative in my opinion. So hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. Telegram. All right. Follow me on Telegram. Peace and have a great afternoon.